Mayday Parker, the daughter of Spider-Man, takes on her father's legacy in the origin of Spider-Girl. What's up guys, Roman from R&S Entertainment here, and welcome to Comic History, the weekly series where I retell and explain epic and iconic storylines, origins, and events in the world of comics. In this video, we're going to be covering the origin of Mayday Parker, the original Spider-Girl, who first debuted in a What If issue in 1998. Gaining so much positive response that Marvel allowed the character's creator, Tom DeFalco, to start up an ongoing Spider-Girl series in its own universe, known as the MC2 universe, which takes place in an alternate future version of the Marvel Universe where new and interesting takes on characters could take place outside of the main 616 Marvel continuity. In many ways, the MC2 was the precursor to the much lauded Ultimate Universe, in that both sought to garner interest and popularity with new or younger audiences without being bogged down or hindered by the decades of ongoing Marvel continuity and history. They both also attempted to make the characters current and relatable to the young readers of the time, though the main difference is that the MC2 universe took pains to make their storytelling and structure feel old school as well, harkening back to the way comics were written in the 80s and early 90s. Much like Ultimate Spider-Man kicked off the Ultimate Universe, Mayday Parker's Spider-Girl series kicked off the MC2 universe, though the few other MC2 titles were all short-lived and quickly forgotten. Spider-Girl itself survived several attempts by Marvel at cancellation due to low sales after the massive initial popularity of the character, mainly due to grassroots campaigning by Tom DeFalco himself and the dedicated fans of the character. In this video, we're going to be covering Mayday's entire origin story, which takes place in issue number 0 of the 1998 Spider-Girl ongoing series. Our story begins with a 15-year-old Mayday Parker, a student at Midtown High who, like her mother Mary Jane, is popular and outgoing, being a member of the girls' basketball team, and like her father Peter Parker, is intelligent and studious as well. In the school's crowded gymnasium, Mayday catches a rebound from their rival basketball team and runs down the court, weaving through the opposing players with unnatural agility as the last seconds of the game tick down. Not realizing it, Mayday is manifesting Spider-Man's powers in mid-game, with her new spider sense allowing her to move so efficiently down the court, and her increased agility and strength allowing her to leap up into the air and slam the ball into the hoop so hard that the backboard shatters from the impact. Caught up in the crowd's cheers from scoring the game-winning point, Mayday still doesn't realize anything is amiss, but her parents, Peter Parker and Mary Jane, watch from the stands in horror, whispering to themselves about whether she just displayed spider powers, with Peter having been watching for them since Mayday was born. They put on a smile as they approach Mayday, and we see that Peter has to walk with a cane, having had his leg severely injured in his final conflict as Spider-Man. As they talk to Mayday, an obviously goblin-like silhouette is seen outside the school window, with both Peter and Mayday's spider sense going off and then quickly passing. Mayday's then approached by her best friend and teammate Davida, who invites her out to celebrate their win with a few of the football players, though Mayday has already made plans to hang out with her other two best friends in the science club. Mayday tries to get everyone to hang out together, but that doesn't happen for obvious reasons, and she watches her popular friends walk off without her, noting a weird look on the quarterback Brad's face, who Mayday has somewhat of a crush on. Peter and Mary Jane return home and debate over whether they were wrong or not to hide Mayday's lineage from her, and never tell her about her dad being Spider-Man or the possibility that she might one day gain the same powers. They think back to when Mayday was born, with Peter wanting nothing more than to spend all of his time with her and Mary Jane, though he still felt that being Spider-Man was his constant responsibility and didn't stop even after becoming a father. Peter then thinks to his final moments as Spider-Man when Mayday was 2 years old. The Green Goblin had her kidnapped, and in the ensuing final battle, Norman Osborn lost his life, and Peter lost his leg, ceasing to be Spider-Man following the tragedy, reasoning that since he was no longer Spider-Man, he had no reason to burden his daughter with the knowledge. Meanwhile, Mayday is walking down the street with her two geeky friends, Courtney and Jimmy, when she feels the same tingling she had felt when the ominous goblin shadow had appeared at the school earlier, but this time it was sharper, more insistent, and pushing her to move. Mayday jumps at the last second and saves her two friends from an exploding pumpkin bomb, looking up to see the Green Goblin descending from the sky, telling Mayday and her friends that they didn't need to be afraid, as long as Mayday delivers a message to her father that the Green Goblin has returned, and for Parker to meet him at the bridge where Gwen Stacy died at midnight the next night. Mayday goes home and tells her parents what had happened, and Peter tells her and Mary Jane to go upstairs and call to see if Mayday's friends are okay, while he figures out who this new goblin is. Knowing that both Norman and Harry Osborn are both dead, he calls Harry's former wife and mother of the last Osborn child, Liz Allen, instead coming in contact with Liz's current husband. Learning that Liz had fallen ill weeks ago and remained hospitalized, with her son Normie having disappeared shortly after. MJ comes downstairs and comforts Peter, who blames himself for not ending Norman Osborn's legacy of evil, and also for not telling Mayday of her own identity. As Mary Jane tells Peter that Mayday is strong and smart enough to handle being the daughter of Spider-Man, Mayday hears her from the steps and learns the truth. We then see the new Green Goblin, who is indeed Normie Osborn, taking off his goblin costume in a defunct Osborn factory, ranting to himself about how Spider-Man killed his father and his grandfather, and how he would reclaim their honor. Normie at this point is about 20 years old, but ridiculously jacked and edgy, with terrible anti-Spider-Man tattoos all over him and hate spelled out on his knuckles. Peter spends the next day looking for backup from other superheroes in dealing with the Green Goblin, not wanting to involve his colleagues in the police precinct where he works as a police scientist due to how personal the conflict with the Green Goblin is. He initially tries to contact the Fantastic Five, which is essentially just setting up the fact that they exist for the Fantastic Five ongoing series that would be created for the MC2 universe. But they're all off-planet on a deep space mission, so he then goes to Avengers Mansion to seek help from the new lineup of Avengers, which is also just setting up that MC2 title, called A-Next. But seeing how young the new Avengers are, he feels embarrassed for thinking of asking for their help. Meanwhile, Mayday confronts Mary Jane about what she had heard, having tested out her spider powers in the empty school gym earlier that day, and Mary Jane, having disagreed with Peter about keeping Mayday's identity secret, takes her up to the attic. And while telling her of Spider-Man's past, shows her the last remnants of his superhero days, including his Spider-Man suit and web shooters, which Mayday holds in awe as she begins to realize that due to her powers, she shares the same responsibility to use them as her father. Mayday then pulls out a second Spider-Man costume, which Mary Jane tells her belonged to her Uncle Ben, meaning Ben Reilly, the clone of Peter Parker, during his run as Spider-Man in the Clone Saga. Holding Ben Reilly's costume, Mayday says that being Spider-Man runs in her family, just like the Goblin legacy is passed down through Normies. When she asks Mary Jane what Peter is going to do, MJ says that he'll do what he always does, make things right if he can. Peter goes to meet with Normie at the bridge, with the new Green Goblin lifting him into the air and demanding that he change out of his civilian clothes and face him as Spider-Man, which Peter refuses, saying that Spider-Man died the same day the original Green Goblin did. Goblin threatens Peter, saying that he'll use Peter's family, and specifically his daughter, to force him to become Spider-Man once again, and revealing his police pistol, Peter warns him that he'll do whatever he has to do to protect his family. At that point, Mary Jane shows up in the car and tells Normie to let Peter go, saying that she and Peter had babysat for him as a child, but Green Goblin grabs Peter's gun and says that tonight it's kill or be killed. It's Green Goblin versus Spider-Man. He then grabs Mary Jane by the face and threatens to fry her with his electrified gauntlets, saying that this is Peter's last chance to become Spider-Man and face him. Suddenly, Mayday leaps in and kicks Green Goblin in the face, saying that if he wanted a spider person, then face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot, using her mother's famous line and wearing Ben Reilly's Spider-Man costume. Peter and Mary Jane are shocked and horrified that their daughter could be killed, but Mayday dodges Goblin's electric blast and quickly figures out that he can zap through her webbing with his gauntlets. Mayday taunts Normie in true Spider-Man style, keeping him off balance and unhinged while she dodges his weaponry, bringing up his mother Liz Allen and how low it was of him to emulate Norman Osborn, who never accepted Liz as part of their family. Normie yells at her to shut up, pulling out a second pumpkin bomb, which Mayday was actually waiting for, having paid attention to his weaponry and figuring out that if she webbed the bomb to his hand, he would have to detonate it to zap the webbing away. Peter smiles and clenches his fist, yelling out yes, as Normie detonates the bomb in his own face, plummeting from the sky but somehow still landing on his feet. Though he does land in the middle of the street in front of an oncoming truck, with Mayday choosing to save him instead of letting him die, pulling him towards her and punching him as hard as she can in the face, knocking him out cold and ending the battle. Normie is taken to prison, having become even more unhinged and singing a version of the Spider-Man theme song with Spider-Girl instead, and Mayday says that she feels sorry for him. Liz Allen's husband then tells Mayday and her family that Liz isn't doing well with her illness, but that where there's life, there's hope, and sometimes hope and family are all we have. The police question the Parkers, who never mention Spider-Girl's existence, and Normie also keeps quiet about it, instead just humming the Spider-Man song to himself as he stares at blank walls. The Parkers then return home and join in the backyard to burn Spider-Man's costumes and web shooters, intending for this to be a farewell to their family's heroics once and for all. But upstairs in the house, we see that Mayday Parker has already began designing her own Spider-Girl suit with black and white coloration. And that wraps up the origin of Spider-Girl, a cool alternate universe character that gained a devoted, if not huge, fan base, and sparked an entirely new Marvel Universe imprint that was in many ways the precursor and inspiration for the Ultimate Universe. Personally, I enjoy Mayday. Her character is a great blend of Peter Parker and Mary Jane's personalities and traits, and though extremely simple and to the point, her origin was fairly effective and made me interested in where her story goes from there. The book itself is a bit 90s-tacular and tries a little too hard to be hip with the young people, but it's not bad at all, and is a really cool alternate universe take on Peter Parker and Mary Jane's family, and the legacy of Spider-Man. If you'd like to see more Mayday Parker Spider-Girl stories in the future, let me know in the comment section below, along with any other stories you'd really like me to cover. If you'd like to commission a specific storyline, origin, or event to come out right away, you can do so by donating to my Patreon, which would really help a lot towards letting me continue to do these videos. Also, make sure to check out the comic history playlist and other videos on the channel, follow me on social media, subscribe to my gaming channel RNS Gaming, and I will see you all next time.